Good morning, Rams. We are going to look at rules for reasonableness with multiplication, okay? So I want you to think about a few things, all right? And this is not a lot of writing. This will be a fast video for you, okay? Our standard says to determine with and without computation. That means we just have to know the rules without actually doing the math, okay? Whether a quantity is increased or decreased when multiplied by a fraction, including values greater than or less than 1. So sorry, I'm a little scratchy this morning. Okay, so what that means basically is I have to be able to tell where this number would fall, where this answer is. So we just have a couple of rules to learn, and we're going to practice applying it with our work today in class, all right? So this first one here says when we are multiplying two numbers that are both less than one whole, right? This is less than one whole and this is less than one whole. The answer is smaller than both. So you may see questions that say like, what would this answer be? And the answer choices might say the answer is less than both of them. The answer is greater than both of them. The answer is greater than 2/5. The answer is less than 2/5. Now, sometimes it's not worded to say it's smaller than both. It would say the answer is less than 2/5. Well, if you think about it, 2/5 is less than 5/9 anyway. So anything that's less than 2/5 would be less than both of them anyway. Okay? So don't let that trick you. Got that one? The next rule says, well, let me go over here and look at this for a second. What does it mean to have a part of a part? This kind of goes back to the idea. Let's say that you have a half of a candy bar. Well, let's say you have a 3/4 of a candy bar and you give your brother half. You're giving him a part of your part. What you have left is going to be even smaller, right? A part of a part. That means it's a fraction times a fraction, and they're both going to be, your answer, you're going to have less than a half. Okay, because he's only getting half of your 3/4, so you're going to have less than both of them. Okay? Your piece gets smaller. We'll write that down like that. Okay. And we'll practice using this in our class discussions. But make for sure as you're going through any word problems that you're thinking about, where is my answer going to fall? Okay, it's going to help you determine if your answer is reasonable. Okay, so next, when you're multiplying two numbers that are both greater than one whole, like these two right here, okay, your answer is larger than both of them. Your answer is going to be larger than each one. And I'll explain that on the next page in a second, what that means, okay? A little bit more. But just knowing that rule helps. That if this is 1 1/4 and this is 5 7/8, no matter what I do, if I multiply them, my answer is going to be larger than 5 7/8, okay? This last one is usually the hardest for students to understand. When multiplying one number that's less than one whole, that one, and one number greater than one whole, that one, your answer is between them. That means my answer is going to be larger than 3/4, but smaller than 2 1/8. Okay, that's what you have to know. Your answer is larger than the smallest one, but smaller than the biggest one, when one number is greater than one whole and one number is less than one whole. Now, we're going to put it into some application here. Okay? Take this number here for example. 5 times 1 is 5. Anything times 1 is that number, right? So if I multiply something by something larger than 1. So if I'm going to take this 5 and multiply it by anything larger than 1, it could be a 2, it could be a 7, or it could be 1.1, or 1.5. Anything larger than 1, your answer, it gets bigger. Your answer is larger than the 5, okay? larger than 5. Okay, your answer is larger than 5. Okay, every time. If I'm multiplying by something bigger than 1. Now, if I take this same 5 and I multiply by something less than 1, like a 1/2. Well, 5 times 1/2, that's 1/2 of 5, that's 2.5. Or 5 times 4/5, that's actually going to be a 4. Okay, so just think about it as anything less than this 1 whole, that means that answer has to get smaller. The answer is less than 5. Now we can take that back over to these first rules again. Let's think about it, okay? If I take a number and I multiply it by something less than 1 whole, that means my answer has to get smaller. Okay? This 5 7/8. I multiplied by something larger than 1 whole, so my answer is larger than 5 7/8. All right? This one right here. This one's kind of cool because I take this one, I'm multiplying by a number that's larger than 1 whole. My answer is bigger than 3 3/4. If instead I'm looking at it from this side and say, well, I have 2 1/8. I'm multiplying it by something less than 1 whole. My answer is less than 2 1/8. Okay, now what does that look like in problems? Okay, to truly test this standard alone, it looks like these, okay? So which standard is true? The product of 7/8 and 3/4 is less than 3/4. Well, that's less than 1 whole, less than 1 whole. The rule is your answer is less than both of them. Is that true? Yes, because 3/4 is the smallest. That looks true. Let's check them though. The product of 1 2/3, okay, that's greater than 1 whole, and 8/9, that's less than 1 whole, is less than 8/9. Wait a minute. Greater than 1 whole and less than 1 whole, my answer should be between them. It can't be less than the smallest one. Okay, oh, this one's tricky. 5/3, that is greater than 1 whole. It looks like a fraction, but it's improper, okay? Greater than 1 whole and less than 1 whole, your answer should be between them. Not less than the smallest one. 4/5 and 6/7, they are both less than 1 whole. So your answer is less than both of them, not greater than both of them. So it's 8. Okay, we'll do this next one on the bottom first. Which of these statements is true? 30 times 4/3. That means that is greater than 1 whole. That's improper. So greater than 1 whole is greater than 30. That means I take a number and I multiply it by something greater than 1 whole. Is the answer larger than what I started with? Yes. Let's try the rest though. 30 times 3/5. Well, 3/5 is less than 1 whole. Okay, remember when I said we have to know these symbols? We can't call them the alligator mouths because we have to know what they mean. 12 times 3/5 is greater than 12. Well, 3/5 is less than 1 whole. So when I multiply that 12 by something less than 1 whole, my answer gets smaller than 12. 15 times, 6/5. There they go again. They're going to put that improper fraction in there and try to trick us. That is greater than 1 whole. So my answer should be greater than 15, not less than 15. 18 times 7/6. That's an improper fraction. It's greater than 1 whole, so my answer should be greater than 18. Are these making sense? Why? I'm talking through the reasoning. These are things that whenever I say show your work, you could put that in writing. But I'm talking through it for you, okay? I'm so sorry, guys. It's early in the morning and I'm scratchy. Okay, this one was a star question. Okay? Actually, I think they all were. If 45 is multiplied by m, okay, 45 times m, that's just any number, which value of m would get a product less than 45? So I'm going to write it like this. 45 times m is less than 45. So what does that tell you about the m? Well, if my answer is less than 45, that means my m has to be less than 1 whole, right? If I'm getting smaller, it's got to be less than 1 whole. So let's look at the answer choices. Which one is less than 1 whole? That is improper, 3/2. 8/3 is improper. 5/2 is improper. That means they're all less than 1 whole. 3/10 is the only one that is less than 1 whole, not greater than. Sorry. All right, last one here. Which expression has a value greater than 3/4? All right, so if I'm multiplying 3/4 times something, and I want an answer greater than 3/4, that means what I'm multiplying by has to be greater than 1 whole, right? If I want to get larger, it's got to be greater than 1 whole. So the first number is 3/4 in all of them. So I'm going to look at the second number. Which one has a number larger than 1 whole? 2/3? Nope, that's less than 1 whole. 3/2? Oh, that's improper, isn't it? 1/2? Nope, less than 1 whole. 7/8? Less than 1 whole. There we go. All right, so what can I summarize here? What can I summarize at the bottom? For me, summarizing would be, if I wanted to summarize this whole lesson, I would say, pay attention to whether, you can write your own summary if you want, the fractions are greater than 1 whole or less than 1 whole. That's the biggest thing of all, right? And it's not just for, of course, we test it with these kind of problems too, but it helps with the reasonableness of all problems. All right, Rams. Now we're going to be using this in class, all right? Thanks, guys.